President Trump defending his response to the Puerto Rican crisis. He and the vice president will both be visiting that devastated U.S. territory next week. The Pentagon also appointing a three-star general to get there and oversee the recovery effort. FEMA has also been on the ground sending water and supplies and much more. Thousands of workers there. Senior counselor to the president, Kellyanne Conway, joins me to talk about that and much more. Good morning, Kellyanne.
Good morning, Shannon.
Okay, so there is a three-star general going in, and there have been many calls for the military to get more involved. Some of the criticism comes from the general who was appointed to oversee Katrina efforts, and here's what he says, quote, "It's kind of like Katrina. We got it. We got it. Oh, blank, send in the cavalry. This is a hit on White House decision-making." Your response?
My response would be to echo the comments of our Homeland Security and Counterterrorism advisor here at the White House, Tom Bossert, who said in an interview earlier today in response to that same observation that he served with that general when it came to Katrina, but that the general is not read into this entire situation. The fact is there are 10,000 federal employees on the ground, including 800 from FEMA. Fortunately, Shannon, a lot of the commodities that are necessary, the millions of meals and liters of water and medicines are there. The supplies are there. It's a matter of distributing them on an island whose infrastructure, emergency contact have been completely destroyed and need to be rebuilt. And there's a lot of debris clearing going on. So it's a matter of the delivery system at this point. Everybody is working as hard as they can. I'm sorry very much that there are certain people, particularly on TV, trying to politicize this. Hurricane always trying to find a way to blame the president for things when they do much better to figure out how to help. Anybody who wants to help, it's NVOAD.gov. Go onto the website. You can help as a volunteer. Find out what you can do instead of complaining about it. But the fact is, the commodities are there. Jet travel is restored. Most of the hospitals across Puerto Rico, not all, are now back up and running. But it is a process. There's a process in place to help rebuild the infrastructure. The power grids are still down. We want to make sure people have access to clean water, to the food supplies, and fuel, of course, is very important to the people of Puerto Rico. But this president, this vice president, the entire administration are responding with a full force and effect, as our military. And yesterday, the waiver of the Jones Act, I think, helps a great deal in that regard as well.
What do you make of GOP Senator Marco Rubio calling for more military intervention? He says the situation, as you describe it, and we've seen the pictures, the infrastructure is decimated. He says he thinks the U.S. military is the only thing that can get in there and get these things distributed, and he's calling on a much bigger presence from our troops.
Well, I'm told that, again, by the officials in charge of this recovery and rebuilding effort, Shannon, that that is being done, and that we have a very big and expanded footprint there already, including our military, and that will increase as it is appropriate to go. In other words, I know everybody has said this, but it bears repeating that you can't drive trucks just over contiguous borders. Puerto Rico is about 1,100 miles away from the closest, I think, contiguous state, and you've got people coming in through air, through land. There have been some airdrops, obviously, of supplies that are needed. But the fact that Puerto Rico is an island doesn't mean it's an island alone. And we are there for them. Very much appreciate the work of Senator Rubio and others who have been on the ground, others trying to help the populations here at home who want to know how their relatives are doing and their friends are doing on the territory of Puerto Rico. Mm-hmm. But this is an administration-wide effort. Puerto Rico was hit by 2 hurricanes in very short order, Irma and Maria. And this is devastation on a scale that I think the island has never seen or has not seen, at least in our lifetime. So everybody's working very deftly. And again, I can't help but see so much of this as criticism of the president. One day it's about X, the other day it's Y, the next day it's about a hurricane. And it's just, it really is too bad that people who, sure, their job is to be skeptical and probing, become cynical about something when the president and the vice president administration, indeed, and our military, our brave men and women in the military, are trying to help those in need. I would invite those people to add to the aid and assistance rather than the criticism and the cacophony.
Yeah, and our huge thanks to all of those who are there on the ground, volunteers and paid and military, all of them in this difficult situation. Meanwhile, about an hour from now, the president is going to speak about tax reform. How confident are you it can get done by the end of the year?
Yes, I'll be accompanying the president this morning to his speech to the National Association of Manufacturers. And I think in that speech, the president will lay out what's already happened economically that doesn't get enough coverage. The S&P is at a historic high. The GDP growth for last quarter just came out last night. To confirm, it's 3.1%. That's amazing. I mean, this is something that candidate Trump talked about on the campaign trail, Shannon, that we should not just give in and give up on a 2% growth rate. Before 2007, for decades, this country enjoyed more than a 3% growth rate. The president already achieved that in the last quarter, and his tax plan assumes that we can get up to 3.5%, 4%. He's going to also tell these manufacturers they can invest. They're going to have 100% of expensing of their capital improvements. We're going to reduce the brackets. And for businesses to go to 20%, that's going to spur growth.
Change.
That's right. It's going to be a massive change for consumers and employees.
We got to leave it there. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Kellyanne, we appreciate yours.
Thank you for having me. Congratulations on the new show. Thank you.
Thanks. See you at 11.